Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I think we can go ahead and get started here. So welcome to another installment of the monthly meeting for our partners about the virtual job fair tool. Up here on the screen here in the PowerPoint is the agenda of today. So we'll be reviewing some of the updates that have taken place to the system over the last month, address any questions you may have about the tool or anything else that you'd like to be specifically on these calls. And then we'll point out some of the upcoming multi-employer virtual job fair events that are taking place this month, as well as discuss a updated process for, briefly touch on that for the system and having our other partners engage with that more, and we'll close out. So to begin, change the screen share here. On the list of updates to cover. So since last time, there's a few issues we had addressed. There was an issue of employer booths, those that were approved. If the employer contact went back to update that employer booth listing by including updated text or adding documents to it, then there was a glitch in the system where it had to be approved again, but this reapproval process has been updated. So that's, once it's active, it's only going to remain active until the public date for that employer booth has expired, or if the employer archives their employer booth. We also did an update to the daily email for virtual job fair staff. If no employer booths are pending or needed review and approval, then a link to that virtual job fair dashboard is not included. I know there was some confusion before by having that link to the dashboard there when there were no booths to approve. So that's was updated to kind of address that. There was a recent issue that that came up yesterday that some of the LWS staff who do have access to receive these daily emails were getting them multiple times a day, the same email. But a programmer looked into that, and it looks as if that's been corrected. Additionally, we improved the virtual job fair landing page search to yield better results with keyword searches. So that's just kind of a minor enhancement that we had here. And another one that I can actually show you is that employer booths now can have a second point of contact added to the page. Before, it was just one individual who would have the ability to access, manage, make updates to an employer booth page. And then going over here, show you an example of this. So in the dashboard, if you click this gray icon here for booth details, the manage by, that was who can have access to edit it. But if someone else from this organization were to have a Illinois WorkNet account, then they can be added as a second point of contact for that employer there. And so those are the updates that we have done in the last month. I can say that we have mocked up some kind of system-wide enhancements that we're going to be rolling out over the next several months, but we'll be doing that piecemeal. And of course, we'll talk about them and demonstrate them and, discuss any changes that may be pertinent to your work with the virtual job fair tool about that. But that is something that we are starting to gear up, that I think is going to make the system for VJF just easier for customers, partners, employers, all of us. So we're pretty excited about that, that's on the way. So with the updates covered, do you have any questions about the updates or really anything about the virtual job fair tool and system and processes itself.
I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Is there somewhere where we could download or you could send out a step-by-step as a desk reference for staff when they're trying to assist employers with getting these established?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're looking into, and we actually, I think, need to update one of the ones we have here, but we are looking to create, whether it's, a single employer event, a multi-employer event, what we want to do is create a step-by-step guide that would sort of resemble this quick start guide here. So it would just, very succinctly, go through the steps of what they would need to do to get set up for that event. But yeah, we could certainly put one together for getting employers started, which they would need to first create an Illinois workNet account. So, that could be, or, the guide for getting employers started could be, welcome to the virtual job fair tool, and kind of giving the pitch for that tool. And then the next one would be, creating an Illinois workNet account. And then, step 3 would be creating an employer booth listing. Step 4, additional information the employer may need to know about how to manage or edit or, request assistance for a virtual job fair event. And with each of these guides, what we would have is a short video that would, 1 to 2 minutes show how to go through that step. But yeah, I think we can go ahead and start putting some content together for, just employers so that, you can send them to a page and say, this has all the information you need to get started. But yeah, no, that shouldn't take too long to put together. So we can certainly have that within the next a few weeks or so. And I'll obviously share that with you all.
So I have a question. It's similarly based on that. And I think that tool would be very helpful, but I'm working with a small company and they only have one HR person. And this individual is stretched pretty thin and they have a fair amount of job openings, and there's some, I can feel some resistance about wanting to create another account on a website.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure how you, I don't know if you have any advice on how to handle that or to overcome that.
Yeah, so there's a couple things that come to mind with that, because that has something that's come up before. And so with the system, and maybe it's a matter of, our staff to put together a short video. There might actually be one, I'd have to double check. That would kind of just show the process of it. And, while it is, another account on a website, it's pretty straightforward to go through the process of creating an account and then setting up the job fair booth, and just kind of going through, there's not too many, fields that, they need to fill in, but, it does take, a few minutes out of, someone's day to
and David, this is Tanya, if I may interject. I wanted to add in, I find this part that David is going over now, along with that other one that has for the job seeker, for the business, and I think a part for us, this is the main piece that we really want to focus on. Now, there's 2 ways, because we believe that our employers should be engaged in the process as well. As with Illinois job links, with here, the employer can't upload their accounts, and once they load it up, logos, everything is there already in the system. So that's for the first sign up. But if the employer is stretched and isn't able to deliver on that process, there's a simplified way that it shouldn't be for all of the employers, but we have a process that's in place, Ray, where we could work with the SIU team and the partnership to enter in this information. So when we first started doing the virtual job fairs, I entered this information for our employers. The biggest thing that I saw the difference, because as you see the FEIN number as with Career Connect, is one of the requirements. In fact, this system requests less information than what Career Connect does. So there is a very simplified way, and as David mentioned, it only takes a couple of minutes. And to spider the information out to the system, I find it to be a great tool. And as we build capacity within our agencies, it's good to maybe use this administrative role as an internship or pay work experience in some shape, form, or fashion to build more capacity for these virtual job fairs that we will be getting more of and manage more, because David and Daniel is just two of them. So we want to give them as much support as possible with collecting that information on the front end. And possibly they could get more support on the back end for the demand that's coming down the pike. I mean, would you agree, David?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Tanya.
So I hope I answered your question, Ray, but that's how we are dealing with it on the WIOA side.
Yes, no, I think that's excellent. I'm just trying to, find the right balance of working directly with the company versus trying to get people in the door to help funnel to the company.
Got it. So for this particular company, what I would probably recommend is probably setting it up yourself. I could work with you on that offline with SIU, but once we get that employer loaded up in the system, it's like with Career Connect and Illinois Job Link, you don't have to do your first work over again. You're just reopening the booths or what have you. So your work is made easier in using technology. The worst thing that can happen is we could all lose internet connection and the system goes down, but that's not going to happen. But in terms of best practices, putting it in this manner, it only takes a couple of seconds, and then the employer is satisfied, and we have the job seeker information where we need for it to be.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Good question, though.
Yeah, thank you, Tanya. And I think, I think it might be on this page. I thought I had added. Okay, yeah. So there is a on this partner guide page. So let me go back here, actually. So there's another point in the question. For those who may not know where the kind of partner guide is for virtual job fair. So if you click on, so IllinoisWorkNet.com, if you click on this icon up here for partners, and then scroll down to this virtual job fair guide. And this virtual job fair guide is, if you're a workforce partner and you want to encourage employers to participate in virtual job fairs in your area. This is kind of the one location for all the resources you may need. Down here is just our monthly webinar series that we're having today. And in going through these pages here under all resources, partner guidance, we have a few articles on virtual job fair. It's really best practices and expectations for job seekers and employers. We'd like to build this out more to include, other items, for virtual job fairs, but, for both the job seekers and the employers, we have, preparing for an event and then attending an event. And, these just cover, expectations, what you should do, how you can prepare, best practices sort of things for both of those audiences. The partner training materials and videos here. This is where the webinar that we're recording currently will be posted onto this page here. Additionally, the full list of resources page has guidance broken out by different audiences. So over here, we have, under individuals and job seekers, a couple different articles that were on that page just now. And then some overviews for, the tool for that audience. And so this is a link to a recording on YouTube demonstrating the tool for individuals, and a PowerPoint presentation as well. And this is the same, information, but geared towards employers down here. And then for workforce partners, we're also, posting the, any training sessions we have, or, the monthly meeting series that we have, we're including this here as well. And under instructions, we have links to instructions for partners on how to use and manage the tool and employer booths in their area. And then for employers, we also have a set of instructions, but this here is a brief recording on how an employer can submit an employer booth page. And it's only, okay, so about 3.5 minutes. I won't play it because I would prefer not to hear my voice right now in another way. But you can certainly share this video with employers, and it just goes through, the virtual job fair tool. It kind of starts off with an overview of it. Here's how you can create an account, and and I do remember recording this, that, reiterating that only fields that have that red asterisk are required fields. And so then, after they create the accounts, they have kind of an overview of what to expect with managing the tool and requesting assistance. And then after they log in, they can then submit the employer booth entry for their organization. And then once it is approved, how they can get back into the system and access the virtual job fair dashboard for their employer booth. And, being able to go through the different icons here. They'll only see one entry, which is mentioned in the video, but, they can then, edit the information accordingly, and how to request assistance if they, request assistance from SIU to host a virtual job fair. Then, they'll fill out another form and we'll be in touch with them. Or if they wanted to hold their own, that they could go ahead and add that information to their booth page as well. And then we have a couple of quick start guides, which are just, I think, mainly for Illinois WorkNet resources, but I think having a quick start guide for the job seekers and the employers would be beneficial to include here. And I think this is a one pager of how to add a booth, and then a resume writing guide for job seekers. And then under this column here, we just have some of our planning documents for the larger events. If you want to have an event with, multiple employers, we have a few different documents here, from, kind of an inventory sheet and a checklist timeline, which, shows the different steps involved with the coordination, promotion, and facilitating the event, and all that's all that's included in planning an event. And then we also have down here, we have some outreach materials. There's a custom virtual job fair flyer. This is a Word document that you can edit if you'd like to, kind of get an idea of the flyers that we have. It will look similar to, what's this loads here? It will look similar to this, but you'd have, the ability to edit some of the information in text in the document. And then additionally, we do have some social media samples and posts, kind of a template plan if you want to hold an event and you're kind of wondering some of the language that we use to promote the virtual job fair events that we facilitate. Gives you an idea of some of the language that you can use in marketing your event. And then the partner tool updates page, going back to this partner guide here, just shows a list of updates that we've made to the system, which we saw at the start of the call. So are there any other questions?
I wanted to ask if you needed a special login credential or anything to access this part of the site.
No, so actually, to access this part of the site, you don't even really need to be logged into workNet, this partner guide. So yeah, it is accessible whether you are logged into your workNet account or not.
But eventually will having the workNet account be required in order to access the virtual job fair tool and actually have the event? You will eventually have to create an account.
Yeah, so to access this dashboard area, so I'm in Springfield, so let's say, if I was a member of LWIA 20 staff, only employer booths that have a address within LWIA 20 would show up here, and you would need an account to access this area, and you can just send me, an email if you need the access to it. But yeah, you would need an account to kind of go through this dashboard here to manage and see and edit information if need be. And so this first icon here, that gray one, is the details, booth details, and this just kind of shows some of the high level information if an employer has, if they set up a booth, if they've set up an event, and if that recording has been added to that booth there. And then under here, you can see just kind of some quick URLs, number of positions that are open, the industries that they're hiring in, the employer contact for the booth page. If they have social media, you can reference that here. Additionally, that contact information that we had covered, if they need a second contact, they can add that here. The display booth date, and that's the date range for when they want their booth page to be public on that landing page. And then this audit record here, this just shows, some of the updates that have been made to that booth. What the action was, what the note was, when it was made, and which user had made that. So we do have a record of changes to employer booths. And then kind of going over this other icon here, this blue one, this is the edit booth employer information. This is what they enter when they submit the entry form for an employer booth page. They can come back here and edit this at any time. If they wanted to extend their booth date, they could edit the description, add some, additional information. If they start to hire in more industries, that can be included in here as well. And they can also add, after the booth's been approved, they can upload, different documents that'll show on their page that job seekers, that they would want job seekers to know about, benefits, how to apply, what they're looking for in Canada, that sort of thing. And it is limited to PDF, Word, and Excel, but they can add that here. And the same goes for, if they have other links on their website, that they can include that in here as well. And then they can just click Save and Submit. And then one more button here. On the dashboard, it was sort of a recent update within the last couple of months, but managing virtual job fairs. And so you can see that in this case, Memorial has had a couple of virtual job fairs. You can see, the date and time of when they were held. The URL will go to that calendar listing of the event that we have on Illinois WorkNet. And the archive URL is a recording of that. You can see the date created and who it was created by. But, if they add a virtual job fair, after their booth's been approved, they can come in here and they can request assistance hosting a virtual job fair. And then they just have to fill out another brief form that after they complete that, then, our staff, SIU, we're notified that they would like to hold an event, and we kind of have some more information about when they would like to hold it. And then, we will follow up with them to get that coordinated. And then if they wanted to hold their own, you know, they could choose a date, you know, and time of when, you know, they want their event to be held. And then if, you know, they include a link to register here. And then if it is recorded, you know, after the fact, they can add that in here as well. And then once they save that, that'll show on their employer booth page. And additionally, you know, you can use a search here to narrow down, you know, the employer booths that you're looking for. So I know that was a lot to to your question of if an account's needed, but yes, and also actually I do want to add from this page you can do an export, and let me do a new screen share here. So depending on, you know, the filter you select, if it's, you know, all of the booths in your area, just the ones that are active, just the ones that are archived or expired, upcoming, needs reviewed. You can do an export, and this will download an Excel document. Move this over here and do a new share. Okay, can you see the Excel document? Just want to confirm that.
Oh, not yet. We have your PowerPoint agenda.
Oh, okay. How about now?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, in that dashboard, if you run that export, it will create an Excel file of all that information, and you know, you can see, you know, who the manager was, the status of their booth, the date it was submitted, approved, the name, contact information of the different employer booths. So say, you know, in your region, you hadn't held a multi-employer event, but you have access to the tool, and you're kind of wondering, you know, where to get started. You know, in addition to getting, you know, new employers into the system, what you could do is draw from the employers that already have booths in the system and that they have their contact information in here. And then you can then, you know, reach out to them to see who, you know, might be interested in participating. And since I, you know, have access to all of them, that's why there's this, you know, large range here in LWIAs and cities and zip codes. But you can also see in this export, you know, the number of positions that they're hiring in, which industries they're hiring in. And then if I go over here, the start and end date of, you know, the dates they've chosen for when they want to show their employer booth page to the public. And you can also see here, this VJF added. So if the answer is yes, then that means that they've actually participated in an event with SIU before, whether it's a single or multi-employer event. So, you know, it would be good to encourage, you know, them to, you know, participate more if they're still hiring. But just another way to see, you know, who has and has not participated in a virtual job fair event through us. And then the remaining fields here just show whether they have, you know, a recording has been added to their booth of a job fair event, or if documents and links have been added as well. And additionally, you do have some different filter options. So you know, I think what might be useful if I can, let me change this here. So for industry, say you wanted to hold an event in, let's see, retail trade. You can filter this down to show the employer booths that are active, that are, you know, hiring in the retail trade industry. So if you do have, you know, an industry in mind, and you have access to the system, you can draw from this Excel report to, you know, kind of get an idea of what's already in in Illinois WorkNet as far as employer booths, in your area by industry.
Oh, and one thing that I wanted to add with this report and how it connects to our Career Connect work, like with the item that you just showed for past events that we worked on together with Equus, and we have our contact people at our American Job Center level. Whereas Tracy was listed and you're listed, but it's given us information internally where we could draw upon. In setting up the accounts, the only thing that I saw that was a little different from with the partnerships procedure was the difference in the logo. I think our comms team has one pixelated size. So sometimes that may, but then if we're communicating with Daniel and David, they've been really well in changing the pixelated size. I think it was 100 by 100 or something like that. But it wasn't anything that we couldn't overcome. And as it relates to Illinois WorkNet, and I'm sure that our programs director, Amy Sanchez Arena, see she's on the reviewing our call, but back in the day, it was required as a workforce practitioner to have an Illinois WorkNet account. And having that account opens up a plethora of information in terms of the work that we do with policy, as well as what happens on the rapid response side with what Kathleen Brannigan manages within the BRID unit. When we go out and do rapid response events, that's where we're connecting job seekers. And now we have this wonderful way of connecting employers through the virtual job fairs. So from the virtual job fairs that I've worked with SIU with, I found that we've come a long way. So when I even saw the updated page, it shows how much progression has been made in the virtual job fair space. And our recommendations have been valued with Daniel and David, even in terms of putting in post-event surveys and pre-event and post-event surveys to capture data that we need for our reporting numbers. So that's my input in terms of how we tie all of the work together. And from our comments, it's good to see, since we have a shared placement procedure where we have a point of contact without starting our work over again, and using this process that you showed us, we could reach out to Tracy and really add more depth and more collaboration to our work. So that's my comment.
Absolutely. And thank you, Tanya. Yeah, I mean, with the system, we're always, finding ways to improve it, whether it's, with the system itself or how we've, run certain events. And so, yeah, we do welcome feedback, absolutely, because we do want to make this, easy for everyone. And, it is kind of unfamiliar territory, I think, for a lot of businesses, but, we do want to show them that it's, it is a simple process to just have another way to promote their organization and the employment opportunities that are available.
David, I have two more questions. One about your post-event survey. Is that tracking or inquiring as to the success of the event, if they've hired anybody directly because of the event?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, not currently. That is something that we're hoping to better capture with some of the updates that we have in the coming months. But yeah, currently, we are not tracking kind of that information with WorkNet.
And is SIU still the entity who's approving these, or is there an expectation that I'm not aware of that the local workforce area do that?
Well, we do encourage the local workforce area to start, using the tool. I know with some of these updates that we're going to have, and some of the, updates to the process itself, there will be, I don't want to sound, cryptic here, but there will be an expectation that OWIAs use the virtual job fair tool and, start getting events into employer booths into the system, events on the calendar, and facilitating events for employers in their area.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Now, this is Tanya again. One thing that from the virtual job fairs that I've participated in, after the event, Daniel and David, they send us a registration list from the job seekers, and that list has been broadened to request additional information. So let's say if you're hosting an event for within your agency, at the end of that event, you'll get a registration list. We use that list to build on, to follow up with our job seekers. We use that list to follow up with our employers within our local workforce area. So that's a way that you could create an element within your internal sector to build on what's already available with SIU. And so we use that list even when we're hosting other future events. And we'll source out different zip codes and regional data information. And we work with our comms team within the partnership so that they could do the email and the text campaign to follow up with job seekers. Because one thing that we don't want to do is use this wonderful tool and then leave the job seekers hanging at the end, because we want to have impact to the work that we're doing as we're working with SIU for more updates. So that's how I find a way to, in using that list as post-event data as my way of follow-up. Daniel, and do you all send that like 2 days after that registration list from Eventbrite?
Yes. So yeah, that'll be within, you know, a day or two after the event that we'll share that information with you.
Mhm. And I must say, the job seekers, for those of you who have participated in this virtual job fair journey, they are very engaged. You could capture testimonials, follow up with the breakout rooms where employers, job seekers are having targeted conversations with employers. They're able to have their research done before having the actual job fairs. We have created workshops on the front end for job seekers in some of our events, and then information sessions on a different date, and then the actual booth and the job fair on the final day. And we've had great success with upwards of maybe over 300 people per session, right?
Right. Yeah. 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 That does seem to be kind of the gold standard of some of these multi-employer events. It's kind of breaking up the sessions into, you know, different days where, you know, as Tanya had said, you know, Monday we'll have some, you know, workshops and informational sessions. You know, that could be anything from, you know, resume writing, how to apply for the state, you know, an elevator, a pitch, you know, could be really, you know, what, you know, you think would be best beneficial for job seekers in your area. So, you know, we'd have those sessions on, you know, say a Monday, and then on Wednesday, we'd have the employer presentations where, you know, the employers can then, you know, depending on the number who are participating, within a 2-hour window, you know, not only do we share, you know, resources that are available on a local basis to job seekers, you know, work support, you know, work referral, and the American Job Centers, of course. You know, in addition to sharing that information, that there's also the employer information that, you know, they can then present for several minutes about their organization, employment opportunities. And then after the employers speak, then we hold a Q&A session where the job seekers can, you know, ask any questions for the employers. And then Friday, the breakout room session, which I think each time we've held the breakout room sessions, it seems to be better than the time before. And so, you know, what we'll do for those breakout room sessions on like a Friday is, you know, have some opening remarks, and, you know, each employer will have their own breakout room, and they'll be a member, partner, staff member to kind of, you know, help make sure that, you know, anyone who comes into that breakout room is, you know, that, you know, making sure that they're behaving appropriately. And then, yeah, then we just, you know, leave it up to the job seekers to move around the different rooms, as, you know, giving them that freedom to do so and ask any questions. that they may not have had the opportunity to ask on the previous event. But breaking out those days kind of separates the work and gives you a day to breathe after the previous day's event.
And then I really like the volunteer assignments. I call us virtual hall monitors and room facilitators with the employers. And pretty much we usually have like 2 workforce people or practitioner to kind of facilitate the room with the employers too. So those work out well. And the immediate debriefing session for our workforce practitioners after each event. And then that allows us to capture any recommendations and what went well and what we could have improved on too. So I found that to be helpful.
Absolutely. Are there any other questions? Well, if there's no other questions, in the meantime, going back to this agenda here, we did kind of allude to it, that there will be an updated process, and we'll absolutely let you know via the webinar, the monthly series. Next month, we should have more information about that. And with this process, and again, not to sound cryptic or ominous, it's not as if we're going to say, well, here's how to do it, just go and SIU staff and others, we will, be there to, meet with you, talk with you, best practices, address any concerns you may have. We're not just, handing you the keys and saying, good luck. But we will be, moving towards a process where there, will be that expectation that partners around the state will be, utilizing the tool more and hosting events in their region. And part of the monthly series that I see, kind of moving forward once this process is established, is we can just kind of have a monthly, kind of inventory and review with each, LWIA, and talk about the events that they held. What worked, what could have been better. We can kind of talk through that. Best practices. We do have a number of workforce partners that we've worked with. Such as Tanya, that have been fantastic, and kind of talking through and working out some of the best practices that we have reached. But we do have a few upcoming events for multi-employers this month. Next week, there's a multi-employer virtual job fair for Troy, the Troy Maryville Chamber. And also next week, Effingham County will have a virtual job fair event. And then later this month, on the 25th, a youth job center, they'll be hosting a virtual job fair event. And you can access, if you'd like to sit in on, just kind of get a sense of, what these multi-employer events look like and how they'll go. You can actually access them by going to, go to this virtual job fair landing page here. Scroll down and you click this VJF events button. You can see the calendar view here. And here's the entry for the Troy Maryville Chamber event and the Effingham County event. And so, what you can do here is, just see the date and time of when these events are and, read a little bit about that. If you click this link here under website, this will take you to the Eventbrite page that we'll have here. And again, you can see more information and learn about the event itself. And then you can go ahead and register. And once you do register, you will receive an email that will include the Zoom information so that you can join that event on the day of. You can just sit and observe and get a sense of how some of these larger events go. And if you'd like to sit on a single employer event, you can do so as well. I would caution though that at least as far as SIU goes, this REM Services Inc. that is a series that is being hosted by a different entity and not SIU. But if you did want to check out a single employer event, that we'll be hosting, this Argosy Casino. This will be a single employer event. So, and you'll see that this is only a half hour, but so yeah, if you'd like to sit on those events, by all means, you can join those and register, observe, and yeah. And so with that, that is everything that I had wanted to cover in the agenda. So I'll kind of do a last call here for any questions or concerns you might have.
I just wanted to make one final comment. Working with virtual job fairs is a wonderful journey. The employers really like it. We're really putting the eye in innovation as it relates to our workforce practitioners' work. It's easier to track and it's getting better in those processes. And as of yesterday, my virtual job fair request was up until May. This morning, we have one for June. So there's quite a demand from our employer partners as well as other entities across regions. So we'll be asking for volunteers for our local workforce area. So if you get an email, attending one of these sessions is great because it kind of gives you a little bit background information for when you're called upon to fill a need for virtual job fairs. So I just wanted to lift that up. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Tanya.
David.
All right, well, if there's no other questions, we can go ahead and close out here. I do want to leave a couple email addresses in the chat here. If you do have any questions, and I believe most, if not everyone on the call will already have these email addresses, but I've just shared mine and Daniel's email in the chat. So, if you do have any questions about virtual job fair, by all means, reach out. That's what we're here for. And a reminder that this webinar will be recorded. It will be uploaded to Illinois WorkNet's YouTube channel, but on the Virtual Job Fair Partner Guide, we will add this. We should have it before the end of the day under this partner training materials and videos, and it'll be this top section right up here. But with that, I want to thank you all for joining, and I hope you have a great rest of the day and weekend. Thanks, everybody.